As we know, today marks the 20th anniversary of the deadly 9/11 attacks in the United States. Let's now cut across to some of the commemoration ceremonies underway as of now.
Dad, it has been 20 years since you've been gone, and there's nothing I can say more than I miss goofing off with you. I miss your jokes, and nothing more makes me smile than the light I see in the smile of my daughter, who reminds me so much of you. We love and miss you. And I still wish you could be here to see how amazing and proud we're making you to be.
Gavin Kushney.
Caleb Aaron Dack.
Carlos S. DaCosta.
Jason M. Dahl.
Brian Paul Dale.
John Dallara.
Vincent Gerard DiMatteo.
Thomas A. Damaskinos.
Jack L. D'Ambrosi Jr.
Janine Damiani Jones.
Manuel Joa Damota.
Patrick W. Danahy.
Mary D'Antoni.
Vincent G. Dans.
Dwight Donald Darcy.
Elizabeth Ann Darling.
Annette Andrea Dadaram.
Edward A. Diatri.
Michael D. Doria.
Lawrence Davidson.
Michael Allen Davidson.
Scott Matthew Davidson.
Titus Davidson.
Nirka Davila.
Ada M. Davis.
Clinton Davis Sr.
Wayne Terrill Davis.
Anthony Richard Dawson.
Calvin Dawson.
Edward James Day.
William Thomas Dean.
Robert J. DeAngelis Jr.
Thomas Patrick DeAngelis.
Dorothy Alma de Araujo.
Ana Gloria Pocasangre de Barrera.
Tara E. Debeck.
James D. Debonnier.
Anna M. Debin.
James V. de Blase Jr.
Jesarel Malabuyak de Chavez.
And my little brother, Walter A. Batuza Jr. We love you and miss you every day, Walter. Mom and Sal are still dancing in the kitchen. Last night, in fact, 94 and 92. You would be so proud of your boys. Walter, Jesse, and Nico.
As we just showed you, these are the live visuals coming in from New York in United States, where somber ceremonies to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks is currently underway. Through the day, we've been showing you visuals to mark the 20 years of the deadly 9/11 attacks that rocked the United States and changed the global landscape of politics. Multiple ceremonies are underway in the United States, and this one coming to you is live from New York in the United States, where different leaders are gathering, as well as different mosque members are gathering to commemorate the 9/11 anniversary. US President Joe Biden, of course, is leading the commemoration ceremony, as we have been telling you through the day. Exactly 20 years ago, shocking acts of terror forever changed the world. On the 11th of September 2001, America witnessed the worst terror attack. 4 planes hijacked by a Muslim extremist group hovered over the American skies. 2 of them crashed into the World Trade Center's Twin Towers. One flew right in the middle of the Pentagon building, the headquarters of the US military. And the last one was bravely diverted by the people on board, which crashed into an abandoned strip mine in Pennsylvania instead of its target, that was Washington.
That's the one I heard. I don't know.
2,977 people died that day. It was the biggest attack on American soil and the global superpower. 9/11 was a major turning point in American history. 20 years on, America still bears the scars of the horror on the eve of the 20th anniversary of the deadly attacks. US President Joe Biden paid his tribute to the victims and called for unity as America remembered its past.
To the families of the 2,977 people from more than 90 nations killed on September 11th, 2001 in New York City, Arlington, Virginia, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and the 1,000 more who were injured. America and the world commemorate you and your loved ones, the pieces of your soul. We honor all those who risked and gave their lives in the minutes, hours, months, and years afterwards. In the days that followed September 11th, 2001, we saw heroism everywhere, in places expected and unexpected. We also saw something all too rare, a true sense of national unity. Unity and resilience, the capacity to recover and repair in the face of trauma. Unity and service, the 9/11 generation stepping up to serve and protect in the face of terror, to get those terrorists who were responsible, to show everyone seeking to do harm to America that we will hunt you down and we will make you pay. That will never stop, today, tomorrow, ever, from protecting America.
And now let's cut across to the Pentagon, where a memorial service is currently underway in remembrance, of course, of the 9/11 victims. Take a look.
To LA, fathers, mothers, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters. All that changed at 9:37 a.m. as the innocent were caught in the crossfire of terror. The ideology of hatred unfolded on this very ground. In seconds, scores of lives were lost. 184 men, women, and children were slaughtered in the violent impact and fury. 59 passengers and crew, 125 of our Pentagon colleagues, and the innocent ranged in age from 3 to 71 years old. Those who perished here were among the 2,977 killed on that day here in New York and in Pennsylvania. Not for what they did, but for what they believed and what they represented. Not for anything they did, but rather for who they were. The people we lost that day are not just names and numbers. We remember them today for not only who they were, but for what they could have become. They were irreplaceable to their families, instrumental in their jobs, woven into the fabric of their community, full of life and potential. Lives cut short, pain that can never be properly described in words, suffering that will never fully heal, and no words that I nor anyone else will ever say that can fill the gaping hole. But we, the living, we have a solemn duty to honor their memory, their legacy, to honor and remember them, not just today, but every day. The horrific acts of terrorism on that day were meant to disrupt our way of life and destroy the idea that is America. That idea is simple, yet incredibly powerful. The idea that terrorists hate and fear. The idea that all of us, men and women, black and white, Asian and Indian, no matter what the color of our skin, no matter if we are Catholic or Protestant, Muslim or Jew, or if you choose not to believe at all. The idea is that each and every one of us is created free and equal. The idea that we will rise or fall based on our merit. The idea of a free press, free speech, due process of law, the right to vote or peacefully assemble and protest for or against this cause or that. The idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All of that is what our fallen believed in and what they embodied. All of the values and principles embedded in our Constitution and made real in our daily lives were paid for with the blood of the fallen on this place at 9:37 on September 11th, 2001. Those ideas were and still are hated by our enemies, the fascists, the Nazis, the communists, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the Taliban, authoritarians, dictators, and tyrants of all kinds. They hate those ideas. They hate those values. And on 9/11, they tried to destroy us. They tried to divide us, and they tried ultimately in vain to terrify us. But their murderous intent was never realized. Instead of sowing fear and division, we gathered in New York and Pennsylvania, right here at the Pentagon, and we came together as a nation with acts of heroism, unity, and perseverance, many conducted by you in the audience today. While we grieve for our fallen, we celebrate the life they led. Their legacy lives on in the idea that is America, and no terrorist anywhere on earth can ever destroy that idea. Since that dark day 20 years ago, the men and women of the United States military have fought tirelessly to defeat terrorists in Afghanistan and around the world. Both at home and abroad, their talent and their efforts and their courage, their personal valor has carried this fight day and night. We did not fear what was in front of us because we loved what was behind us. 800,000 of us in uniform served in Afghanistan over the last 20 years. Tens of thousands more have served elsewhere in the collective fight against terrorism. And thousands more stand watch today all around the world. 2,461 of us gave the last full measure of devotion, including 13 just 2 weeks ago, while 20,698 of us were wounded, and untold thousands more suffer with the invisible wounds of war as we close this terrible chapter in our nation's history. For 2 consecutive decades, our men and women in uniform, along with our brothers and sisters in the intelligence and law enforcement agencies, protected our nation from terrorist attack. For those of us in uniform, for our families who have suffered and sacrificed along our side, for those who have supported us, these have been incredibly emotional, exhausting, and trying years. We are all now, this very day, very conflicted with feelings of pain and anger, sorrow and sadness, combined with pride and resilience. But one thing I am certain of, for every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine, for every CIA officer, for every FBI agent, for every cop and fireman, you did your duty. Your service mattered. Your sacrifice was not in vain. So let us resolve. Let us resolve here yet again today on this hallowed ground to never forget. To never forget those who were murdered by terrorists. Never forget those who rushed to save their lives and gave theirs in exchange. Never forget the sons and the daughters, the brothers and sisters and the mothers and fathers who gave their tomorrows for our todays. Honor them. Honor them today and forever. honor the cause they served, honor their commitment to this experiment in liberty that we call the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure and deep honor to introduce Secretary of Defense of the United States of America, the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin.
And I thank God.
Right, we just showed you the statement given by General Mark Milley, the Joint Chiefs of Staff from the United States, from the headquarters of the Pentagon. Today, of course, marks 20 years of the 9/11 attacks. Nearly 3,000 people were killed on September 11th in 2001, which then sparked enormously costly and largely unwinnable wars in both Afghanistan and Iraq, but also created a domestic war on terrorism, which in a sense rewrote the rules on security and surveillance in the United States, as we've seen in the last 20 years, with massive consequences across the world. Now, 20 years to the day that we mark 9/11 as we know about it in modern times, Americans across the country, of course, are reflecting on the events that forever changed their country and, in a sense, the world. It's important to note that nearly 3,000 people were killed on September 11th in 2001. After a pair of hijacked airliners destroyed the World Trade Center towers and another plane punched a gaping hole in the Pentagon, and a fourth passenger jet crashed in a Pennsylvania field after passengers sought to regain control from hijackers. Today marks 20 years since 9/11 took place. We're now bringing you live shots from New York, where US President Joe Biden is in attendance. We just now showed you visuals and the speech given by General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States, coming in from Arlington in Virginia, where he spoke about the loss and the grief suffered by the victims and their families. These are now live visuals coming in from New York, where the US president, of course, as well as other former presidents, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, are gathering to mark 20 years of the deadly 9/11 attacks. "20 years after 9/11, the changes the attacks brought to American life and global citizens still are of immense consequence for all of us. A huge majority of Americans still say that the attacks impacted the way that they live their life to this day.
Police officer, emergency service, truck 7, miss you, love you.
And my uncle, Martín Morales en Poltecatl. Tío, aún te extrañamos. En la familia aún contamos tus historias y nos gusta recordarte como el gran ser humano que fuiste. Y aunque han pasado 20 años desde que no estás con nosotros, sabemos que no te perdimos. Ganamos un ángel."
Paul Robert Ekna,
Konstantin Economos,
Barbara G. Edwards,
Dennis Michael Edwards,
Michael Hardy Edwards,
Christine Egan,
Lisa Aaron Egan,
Martin J. Egan Jr.,
Michael Egan,
Samantha Martin Egan,
Carol Egger,
Lisa Karen Ehrlich,
John Ernst Eichler,
Eric Adam Eisenberg,
Daphne Ferlinda Elder,
Michael J. Elferis,
Mark Joseph Ellis,
Valerie Silver Ellis,
Albert Alfie William Elmery,
Robert R. Elseth,
Edgar Hendricks Emery Jr.,
Doris Sukyun Eng,
Christopher Epps.
We remember not just who our fallen teammates were, but we remember the mission that they shared. And we recall their common commitment to defend our republic and to squarely face new dangers. As many of you know, the construction of the Pentagon began on another September 11th, back in 1941. As war raged overseas, workers with steam shovels began digging that morning into the Virginia clay. Historians say that it was a perfect late summer day, with a crystal clear blue sky and a hint of fall in the air. And on that September 11th night, President Franklin Roosevelt gave a fireside chat about the growing threat of Nazi aggression. America's attention was turned inward and focused on the Depression. But the president was sure that his fellow citizens, whom he called hard-headed and far-sighted, would meet the challenge of fascism. He said, "The American people have faced other grave crises in their history. With American courage, with American resolution, they will do no less today." And the president added that his fellow citizens knew that times of testing call for clear heads and fearless hearts. Clear heads and fearless hearts. That's what our times demand again. And they demand that we remember that same September day 60 years later, and the ideals that brought our teammates to work on September 11, 2001. Now, almost a quarter of the citizens who we defend today were born after 9/11. And that includes thousands of our outstanding young service members. And many of the 13 brave men and women who just days ago gave their lives to save others in Afghanistan were babies back in 2001. And as Secretary of Defense and a veteran of the Afghan war, let me underscore again how much we owe to all those who fought and to all those who fell while serving our country in Afghanistan. As the years march on, we must ensure that all our fellow Americans know and understand what happened here on 9/11, and in Manhattan, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It is our responsibility to remember, and it is our duty to defend democracy. We cannot know what the next 20 years will bring. We cannot know what new dangers they will carry. We cannot foresee what Churchill once called the originality of malice. But we do know that America will always lead. And we do know the only compass that can guide us through the storms ahead. It is our core values and the principles enshrined in our Constitution. Liberty, rights, the rule of law, and a fierce commitment to a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is our job to defend the great experiment that is America, to protect this exceptional republic, body and soul, and to defend the American people in our democracy.